Good evening, and welcome to the 47th Annual Teachers of the Year Award Ceremony, where we have come to honor our best and brightest educators in the First State. Long before there was a new direction to go, or anybody got left behind, or there was a bunch of racing around, there was a relationship between a teacher and a student. A relationship of trust and respect which develops a bond. A bond which is crafted and nurtured, that is the building blocks of the future. Teachers become part of a child's story that they tell about themselves. Teachers enable our imaginations to contemplate what is possible and what could be. Ladies and gentlemen, join me now in welcoming your 2012 Delaware District Teachers of the Year. Tonight, we celebrate those dedicated and selfless professionals who prepare our future. A former student says, "Although I am an 8th grade student now, I still remember my 1st grade teacher. Her gentle voice and warm smile made me feel at ease." Kristen Mitchell from Cape Penelope School District.
We read our story.
There are many people that have had an impact on my teaching career. They are Missy Dawson, Eileen Vavala, Dawn Dorman, and Lisa Craig. These ladies are the rest of the 1st grade team at Rehoboth Elementary. I admire each of them so much. They all have such wonderful teaching qualities, and I strive to be as good as they are. My team is so supportive of each other. And I remember a time about 10 years ago, we took a class together on guided reading. The first day we were all so overwhelmed, and I think if we had been on our own, each of us would have just dropped the class and given up. But together we tackled the class and we succeeded, we all got A's, and it was a wonderful experience. I worked so hard to be part of the team, and those ladies have made me the teacher that I am today.
Kristen has a soft voice and a way of talking to the children that makes them feel secure. One of the most important courses I have taken in my life is Mrs. Hudson's AP Government class. I gained a sense of confidence in my belief that I previously did not have. Barbara Hudson, Delaware School District.
When my children began going to school, I realized firsthand how important good teachers are to student success and also to their desire to learn. I began to feel at this point that I needed to expand my purpose in life. I didn't realize at the time that God already had a plan for me. As a child, I only saw my mother's long work hours. What I did not see were the rewards of good teaching. The impact I can make, not only on my own children, but on other children as well. I strive to be that teacher who makes a difference, who makes a lasting impact. My life is in God's hands. And now I know God's life purpose for me is to be a dedicated mother and dedicated teacher. I am a teacher, and I was always meant to be a teacher, even though I didn't realize it at first.
You're being judged.
Barbara takes the time to know her students.
You gotta be careful what you say, but you also have to be truthful. Okay? You see what I'm saying?
Mrs. Crandell always had a great attitude and never seemed annoyed, no matter how many times we asked her the same question over and over. Ladies and gentlemen, Sharon Crandell, Indian River School District.
As a teacher, I obviously have had many teachable moments within the classroom where students have learned how to find the motive of a character, or they're able to figure out the theme. But I think the thing that stands out as the most memorable moment in my classroom actually was a combination of things. On the last day of school, I had the pleasure of teaching two wonderful girls. They were identical twin sisters, and they came to me and said, "Mrs. Crandell, I have a gift for you." And they gave me this bag. I'm thinking, what is in the bag? So I open it up and there's two rocks. Okay, there are school colors. All right, get to the point. Well, you have to read the card to understand. So there was a nice, beautiful letter written by their mom, and she wrote in there, "You have not only taught my daughters the language arts expertise, you have taught them about life that they will take with them forever. You have encouraged them, calmed them, guided them, and most of all, made them laugh. You are truly a rock for their character that will build on them forever." And I always strive in my classroom to not only teach the language arts curriculum, but to teach my kids about life and how they're going to one day be out there on their own, and hopefully something that I've taught them is going to help them develop the person that they've come in to be. So these rocks mean a lot more to me than I first thought. And it just makes me realize that I'm doing what I love to do.
It is Mrs. Crandell who has inspired and encouraged me to possibly become a teacher when I grow up. We did so many things with Mrs. Voges that will stay with me for the rest of my life. Gina Voges, Laurel School District.
When I think about who affected my teaching career the most, there are many people that come to mind, but I think about my parents. My parents put me through college. I was lucky enough to have their support financially. But I like to tell the story about my dad, who came to my class in my first year teaching, and he looked around and he took it all in, and he said, "Wow, this is what $40,000 in tuition gets you." And we laughed about it, but reflecting on it 13 years later, I think about that $40,000 was more than just material value. It was their love, their support, their high expectations for me, the morals they set. And in my classroom, I use those same high expectations for my students. They know when they walk into my classroom that I expect them to have values, what goal they want to reach. So I think with my guidance, they're able to set those standards. And if it wasn't for my parents, I don't think I'd be the teacher that I am today.
Her active approach allows even skeptics of the educational system to see teachers do care and work hard for their children. She taught me how to read, and now I'm on the second grade level. I loved having Mrs. Waters as my teacher. From Seaford School District, Thonia Waters.
I guess if I had to choose one person who was most influential for me deciding to become a teacher, it would probably be someone I've never met, Marva Collins. I was watching 60 Minutes with my aunt one night, and she came on TV, and there was this strong black woman telling all of these inner city children that they were brilliant and that they could do anything that they wanted to do. And through her, they were able to do anything they wanted to do. And I thought, wow, that's really impressive. I think I'd like to do that when I grow up. And so she would probably be one of the most influential people on my decision to become a teacher.
Herself when she was first born? No. Who had to take care of her?
It was obvious that Mrs. Waters felt that we, the students, were the most important, and she would do anything needed to help us learn. Hardworking, motivated, and enthusiastic are the best words to describe my math teacher, Mrs. Johnson. Sussex Technical High School Teacher of the Year.
I knew I wanted to be a teacher when my sister, I remember her coming home from school, she was much younger than I was, and she would sit at the kitchen table working on her math homework, and she would be in tears, and she would be very frustrated. And my mother tried to help, and my father tried to help, and at times she would even get so frustrated that she would throw the textbook on the floor. And so I realized at that moment that mathematics came very easy to me, and that obviously it doesn't become something easy to everyone. So I decided to help her out a little bit, and with that I found that she found more confidence and was able to tackle the math with a little bit more of a positive attitude. And I thought, wow, that felt good, you know, to be able to help someone through a problem and see their confidence and see her be able to move on with it, because I find math fun and exciting, and I certainly want everyone to find it that way. So that was initially why I began teaching. I guess my confidence in mathematics probably can stem back to when I was in the 6th grade with my math teacher, who was a male and was very scary, and yet he built a confidence in me. We would play some math games, and I felt like I could contribute and that I was getting the answers correct. And so, you know, Mr. Bloodsworth, I attribute my teaching career initially to him, but to also my sister, who without her I wouldn't have realized that I had that passion in me to want to help someone else succeed in mathematics.
She is truly passionate about her craft. Jean challenges others around her on a daily basis. Michelle Cook from Woodbridge School District is a shining example of what a teacher should be.
I decided to become a teacher because, first of all, I wanted all my summers off. I never wanted to have to bring any work home with me. And I wanted to be able to read a good book anytime that I wanted to that wasn't about school. And none of that happened. Coming from a business, I didn't start teaching until I was in my 30s. So coming from a business background first, I kind of had an idea of what our kids were going to have to be able to do, the kind of patience they were going to have, the kind of skills they were going to have. And I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to make sure that the students, at least the ones that I had, the ones, you know, that I had contact with every day, were going to have those social skills and have those academic skills that I knew that they were going to need to be successful out in the world, which is where they're going to be when they leave us.
Her students feel safe to take chances in her room, and her enthusiasm for learning is contagious. My daughter considers Miss Lawson as a mentor, advisor, and a teacher she could confide in as a student.
Education
Carla Lawson, Caesar Rodney School District's Teacher of the Year.
College, what other ideas are there?
I've had many memorable moments throughout my teaching career. I'd have to say my most memorable moments have come with student debates that I've conducted in my government classes. We talk about current issues that are real-life issues for my students, and I'm always very proud of the level of independent thinking, the compassion, the respect, and the ability for students to share personal experiences that lend a new perspective to the debates. During one particular debate on the death penalty, a student shared with the class that his mother had been murdered, and he was opposed to the death penalty because he didn't want another family to feel the sorrow that he had felt. It completely changed the opinion of a lot of the students in the classroom, and it never ceases to amaze me, no matter how many debates I've done, the new insight I get from their point of view and their perspective.
She has encouraged, inspired, and helped me through my high school journey, and taught me so many valuable lessons through her motivational teaching and dedication to helping others. He creates a positive learning environment, and it is evident that his students feel comfortable, respect others, and enjoy learning. From the Capital School District, Adam Bachman.
This year, the entire third grade team did a lesson on making inferences while reading in an effort to aid in reading comprehension. And what we did is we took a trash bag and filled it with wrappers and papers and receipts and typical things that you would find in household trash. We then brought the trash bag into the classroom and explained to the students that there's a new family that moved into my neighborhood, and although I haven't seen the family, I know somebody is living there because blinds have been open and closed, lights have been on, the garage door's been open and closed. And so I told them that it was my lucky day because today was trash day and I stole their trash, and I was hoping that the students would help me figure out who lives in that house by going through their trash. Well, the students ended up being absolutely appalled that I would steal somebody's trash. It really bothered them. And so eventually I had to go ahead and tell them that no, I didn't actually take somebody's trash, and that I had set the whole thing up. So we proceeded to go through the trash, looking at each item in it, and make inferences about who might live in the house. For example, there was an empty box of baby wipes, so the kids thought that a baby must be in the house, and there were receipts from doctor visits, so it told them somebody was sick. There were school supplies, so that they knew kids who were school age lived in the house. But it was a good time, but they couldn't get over the fact that I would steal somebody's trash and bring it into school.
Mr. Bachman's performance, professionalism, and commitment make him an irreplaceable asset to our school. Students are actively learning, but yet having fun. She connects with her students because she knows them well. Andrea Hamilton from Lake Forest School District.
The person who most affected my teaching career is my grandmother, Grace. She had an amazing sense of humor and never took herself too seriously, and that has trickled down through my mother and to me and goes into my classroom. Generally, each day I find as many moments as possible to laugh and enjoy the day while teaching. Kind, gentle nature, always wanting to serve people, never turning anyone away. She was compassionate, had a huge heart for people, and showed love to everybody. And that's kind of what I do with my students. It's exactly what I do with my students. I love them every day.
She seeks to find the uniqueness in everyone and to celebrate that uniqueness. My son today is a much better person as a result of Mrs. Webb's caring attitude and personal interest each day in class. Milford School District's Kimberly Webb.
My senior year of high school, I was afforded the opportunity to volunteer in an intensive learning center at W.B. Simpson Elementary. And it was that experience that reassured me that I was making the correct decision with the future that I had planned. I volunteered in an intensive learning center with severely disabled students, and at the time Mrs. Shields was their teacher. I watched her instruct students who learned very differently on very different topics in a very different setting, and I saw that even our most severely disabled students can learn, want to learn, and deserve the right to learn. And it was the interactions that I witnessed firsthand through observing her that allowed me to see what I should be doing in my classroom.
Were there any other friends of ours, fantastic first graders?
She has the best interest of her students at heart in all that she does. It was through her encouragement and heartwarming smile that I made the decision to enter nurse assisting. Cynthia Moore, Polytech School District.
What I noticed was that I felt that I had the ability to make people think they were important, to get information across, and get people on my side, on my team. And I loved learning. So putting the two together, I applied for a teaching job for nursing at Polytech High School, and I got the position. And my real goal was to graduate certified nurse assistants that could be trusted in the community, that I could trust to work with the elders, because I worked in long-term care for many years. And along the way, I started loving the teaching and the students, and it became a passion with me. So now I feel like I have best of both worlds. I'm a nurse and a teacher, and I can teach the youngsters coming up how to be good nurses and good people in the community and good citizens. And so I think that's why I teach.
Her classroom is a therapeutic and professional environment, one where students can learn, grow, and mature. Amber Augustus from Smyrna School District makes learning fun, and I love a teacher who does that.
If I were to think about the things that influenced me to become a teacher, it was actually not one item, but really a perfect storm of things that came together in my life. First, my experiences in school were overwhelmingly positive. And during my time in my public education life, I actually had the great fortune of being the student of Mr. Gary Riley, who, not only being a fantastic teacher in the classroom, actually took time on his own to come visit me when I had a car accident and I was in the hospital, and he came to see me, and he really made me realize that, his life as a teacher involved much more than teaching me history. And in addition to that, in the future, fast forward a couple of years, I had the great honor of meeting my in-laws, who are wonderful educators. They aspire me to be a very professional, competent, caring, compassionate teacher, because I see them being that. I have my sister, who's also in education, who is a very compassionate, nurturing, creative individual. So I have all these people in my life, but then in addition, I think all educators need to be a bit of an idealist. You have the desire to make a difference, to find the world and make it a little bit better than when you first came to be, and what better place to do that than with children.
As a new student in the 3rd grade, I was extremely shy because I didn't know anyone or felt like I had a sense of belonging. Amy Jones of the Appoquinimink School District changed all that quickly.
While there have been many teachers that have impacted and affected me becoming a teacher today, I think the people that have affected me the most are the people that I work with in my school community. My principal is amazing. She constantly challenges us to do better. She always wants us to put our best foot forward, and in that respect, she challenges me. The team of teachers that I work with are also amazing. Each one is dynamic in their own way. They have strengths and qualities that I admire, and they make me to strive to be a better person and a better teacher in the classroom.
She equips her students with the knowledge and necessary skills to be successful 21st century learners. He taught us to first look at all historical events and perspectives in an objective manner, and then challenged us to form our own opinions. John Schropp from the Brandywine School District.
I guess what really motivated me to become a teacher, my junior year, my senior year of high school, I was very fortunate to have an outstanding high school history teacher, Jack Bailey, at Brandywine High School, and an outstanding high school football coach, Tom Lipinski, also at Brandywine High School. And these men were very good at what they did. They were very professional. They cared about their job, and they cared about the students and the players who played for them. When I went to college, I was fortunate to have really identical experiences. I had a great history professor named John Andrew, and I played small college football, and an outstanding coach named Tom Gilberg. And again, you're looking at 6 or 7 years of my life where I was molded by very strong men, by very smart, very capable, very hardworking, dignified men. And they motivated me, and they motivated their students and their players to push themselves to be the best. And I guess from that point on, I always felt it was kind of like the mantle had been passed to me to do the same thing and to take their place and push my students and the athletes that I work with to reach their full potential.
He continually looks at ways to increase the opportunities for all students to be exposed to the world of social studies. I am proud to say that Mrs. Shelton is my favorite teacher of all time. Kara Shelton is Christina School District's Teacher of the Year.
6 years ago, I became a mother. In that instant, my entire world changed. Everything I do every day centers around the love I have for my children. As a teacher, I experienced a paradigm shift. Parents want the absolute best for their children every day. The boys and girls who walk into my classroom each day, they're somebody's son and somebody's daughter. And they entrust me to spend every second of every day nurturing their minds and their hearts as I would want someone to do for my own children. I now work every day to try to do what is absolutely best for each and every student I encounter. And sometimes they even do a little slip and call me Mom, which I always make sure I thank them for the compliment.
She truly touched my life and showed me I could do anything I set my mind to.
Yes, it doesn't make a sound. Does it do something to them?
Mrs. Bufano worked a miracle with my daughter. Her reading improved so much that now she can read like someone who is in a higher grade. Colonial School District's Jennifer Whitney Bufano.
We were reading the book Where the Red Fern Grows, and at the end, it's a very sad story about some children, and at the end they lose their dogs. And I found Ryan over by the trash can, kneeling down by the trash can with his scissors and his book. And then he threw the book in the trash can, and I walked up to him and I said, Ryan, why did you throw the book away? Don't you want to give that to somebody else? Or, I thought you loved that book. Why did you throw it in the trash can? And he said, well, I cut out Old Dan and Little Ann, the two dogs from the book, and I put them in my pocket. And the rest, I don't want to keep. So that was probably one of my favorite teaching moments about the power of books and reading, and instill love of learning and reading in children is so important. And I think children can go anywhere if they can read. They can travel all over the world. They can become whoever they want to be. And they can go on amazing adventures and explore anything they're curious about if they can read. And that's why I'm passionate about being a reading teacher.
Some examples that some other kids had were maybe they were afraid of the dark. So
Mr. D taught me everything I need to know. That's Andrew D. Michelle of Edison Charter School.
Anyway, with morning meeting, we sit in a circle. Kids are sharing a certain topic. I might say, at the beginning of the year, we might start with, what's our favorite food? What's our favorite color? But then it gets a little bit more complex. And one, it was in October, of course, or actually it was November. We were talking about what we did on the Halloween weekend. Some kids don't celebrate it, so that was fine. So we talked about, well, what did you do on that day when some of your friends were out trick-or-treating or whatever. And so some were saying, well, we went to a church function, and some said we went to Chuck E. Cheese, and some said we dressed up and went, of course, trick-or-treating. So I asked them, if you did, what did you dress like? And kids were telling us, of course, Batman and Tinkerbell. Well, we got to one child who was always a little bit different than the others, and at first I thought he was pulling my leg, but I could tell he was actually being honest. And I asked him, what were you for Halloween? He said, God. And we all stopped. The whole class froze. But I thought, we have to keep this flowing, so I asked, well, what were you dressed like? And he said, I was wearing a robe. I said, oh. And what else? He said, and a beard. So everybody, and I could tell some kids were about to start asking some strange questions. So I quickly said, well, who went with you? So I thought maybe he'd been pulling our legs. He said, my brother and my mom. I said, oh, okay. What was your brother dressed like? He said, Spider-Man. So, well, what did y'all say when you went to the door? He said, boo.
And we're working together.
In her heart of hearts, she believed that there was nothing else to learn because Mr. D. Michelle had taught it all. Phenomenal, exceptional, and stellar are just a few words to describe my career area teacher, Mrs. Christine Schaub from Newcastle County Vocational Technical School District.
My most memorable moment came when I was teaching a 10th grade class the components of writing letters in business correspondence. I'm a legal vocational instructor. And as I showed the students on the envelope, a legal size envelope, which is the larger envelope, I showed them in the upper left corner that was the return part that they should type, and that the addressee on the bottom lower portion is where we will put the address to send the letter. And in the upper right corner is where the stamp was supposed to go. I had one student to raise her hand, and she said to me, Mrs. Schaub, the stamp, what do you mean the stamp? And I said, the stamp that goes on the letter before we mail it. And she says, I don't understand. And then other students start to chime in and say, we don't get it, Mrs. Schaub, a stamp? And I'm like, yeah, the little thing that goes at the upper right corner, you have to pay for it in order to mail the letter. I had a group of 10th graders all telling me they didn't understand, because you have to think about it. And it really made me think about how old I was, that they text, they email, they Skype, they didn't know about the stamp, that we actually had to go to the post office, put that stamp on the letter, and then mail it. So, to the business world, I want to say, I got them ready for you. They know what a stamp is now. Okay.
Being a member of the Legal Administrative Assistant Program is an experience that I will remember the rest of my life. She is the most kind and understanding teacher in a world of adults who think special education kids are troublesome, not worth the time, or broken. Sally Fraticelli, Red Clay Consolidated School District's Teacher of the Year.
I've learned more in my 34 years of teaching from my students than I can ever possibly imagine. A few years back, I had a less than happy experience with my first round of national boards. And I had been visibly upset early in the day, and one of my students could see that, and he was helping me do something in the book room. We were taking books back and forth. And he said to me, Mrs. Fratt, he said, why are you so upset? What's wrong? You could tell I'd been, crying, and I thought that was all gone, and I had, washed my face and whatever, and I said to him, well, Ralph, I said, you know how it is. I said, when you really work hard at something, I said, and then you don't pass it and it doesn't work out. And as I'm saying it, in my gut, I'm thinking, you know, hey, Sal, this is what these kids feel every single day. And he just kind of looked at me and smiled and said, yeah, I understand. That was a cornerstone for me. That turned things around for me totally. You know, that what they go through every single day, I had just experienced on a one-shot deal.
And you speak Spanish.
That changed me.
I need somebody to translate the words from English to Spanish, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2012 candidates for Delaware's Teacher of the Year.